It drained me emotionally, it drained me mentally and things of that nature. I was in and out of criminal court with this individual, and I pretty much kind of lost focus of the properties. There were times I even forgot to even check on those.
Meet Anitra Preston, a powerhouse in the New Orleans real estate scene with over 14 years of expertise. Armed with a bachelor's degree in marketing and business administration from Xavier University, Anitra embarked on her real estate journey in 2004, purchasing her first rehab in Central City. Unscratched by Hurricane Katrina, this property became a much-needed affordable property for New Orleans residents. Anitra's commitment to post-Katrina revitalization saw her transform storm-damaged properties into affordable havens in New Orleans. Today, as co-founder of Vertical Capital, a private money lending company, Anitra remains unwavering in her mission to help borrowers and capital investors achieve their real estate dream. From working at Home Depot to construction to insurance, real estate agent, and private money lender, Anitra's diverse skill set has influenced over $30 million in real estate development in the New Orleans metro area. Her vision extends beyond business success. Anitra is a true entrepreneur dedicated to building a company that inspires, uplifts, and gives back to the community. In every venture, Anitra Preston exemplifies the spirit of an entrepreneur committed to transforming dreams into reality. Welcome, my partner, Anitra Preston.
What? That was some intro.
Definitely. Put a lot of time in that.
I know, I see that.
You are a very, very accomplished investor. And it seems as though every industry you got in through your adult career was involved and revolved around real estate. Did your 15-year-old self think you was going to get into real estate?
I did not. When I was in high school, I was preparing myself to wanting to be a lawyer. So I was on these little debate teams and stuff like that, 10th and 11th grade, and I just knew that that's what I was gonna do, right? I was gonna go to school and become a lawyer. Then reality hit, right? When I realized that there was a lot of reading involved and a lot of work to become a lawyer, I was like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
This ain't it, because I'm not a type of reader. I was just wanting to get into school and get out and get what I needed to get. And
I definitely could see a lawyer in your future because you're a force, but your height doesn't say how big of a voice and how big of a force you are.
Right.
Because you definitely could debate, and also you're very knowledgeable about the industry we in. So someone can't just tell you anything.
You can't tell me nothing. I think too, the experiences that I've recently had this year and the last 2 years just kind of compounds on that on that experience.
Yeah, definitely many different experiences. Please share, one of the experiences that we had in 2023 that shaped your perspective.
So one in particular is all about title issues, right? You think you know the behind the scenes of land transfers and all the title issues and title insurance. And until you file an actual title claim, which we have, we have two claims. We have a lender's policy claim and we have a owner's policy claim. And the intricacies that are involved in that and the back and forth with the title insurer themselves, and having to get there's like about 2, 3, maybe 4 attorneys involved, and just understanding that process. Now, for us, thank goodness I have the insurance background. So I was able to read the policy and understand exactly what it is. But I do know that the what's on the title is so encumbered that it's taken about a year or so for the insurance company, the insurer. Eventually, they're going to pay us out our policy limits. But just to be in that spot and understand, now I read the title very carefully before we decide to close on a loan.
Yeah. And I definitely appreciate all of your expertise that you bring to Vertical Capital.
Right.
So I want to take you back a little bit.
Okay.
You once told a story where you was eating Burger King every day. just to save money
Yes.
to buy your first investment property.
Yes.
What was the drive? What was driving that discipline?
I just wanted it, right? I say, we got to go back further than that, because when I was in college, I used to save a lot of my money, my tuition reimbursement money. I say in other interviews, is that once I got to Home Depot and I was in that environment and I was surrounded by people who owned tons of property, and I came into encounters with contractors who owned property, who were rehabbing property, I knew then that that's where I was going to be, right? So it's like, okay, I'm 20 something years old. I'm like, where I'm going to get this cash as a down payment, because then it wasn't the 3%. It was 10%, 15%. So it's like, okay, how am I going to get tens and thousands of dollars just graduated from college? I was promoted from an hourly position after graduation, and Home Depot promoted me to a salary position. I have no responsibilities. I have no car note. I have no kids. I'm still staying at home with my parents. My only financial obligation was a $400 a month insurance. I had to cover my insurance, and everything else my parents covered for me. So I was in in a position of advantage, right? But here I am, 20 something years old. I'm making like 45,000 a year with no financial obligation. So my biggest expense, everybody knows, you guys were just talking about me, is my biggest expense in life at that particular point was food.
Yeah, definitely.
I like to eat, right? So it doesn't matter.
That's still your biggest expense.
It's still my biggest expense, right? So, during that time, back in the day, in early 2000s, Burger King had the 99-cent Whopper. So it was big enough. I was big enough to say, okay, if I buy this Whopper for lunch, I cut it in half, and I get the second half for dinner.
Yeah.
And so I stuck to a budget, right? And that budget included paying me first.
Yeah.
So I would pay myself first. I figured out how much I was grossing every month, and I would take half of that and pay myself, and everything else just had to fall in line.
Yeah, and that's a true testament to discipline and your responsibilities at that moment, because a lot of people are young at one point in their life and they don't have many responsibilities, but you took that as an opportunity to elevate yourself. So that's big on your part, because a lot of young 20-year-olds are not taking that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because it is an opportunity to not have many responsibilities.
And I stopped going out.
Yeah.
I did the calculations on, okay, if I go to the mall, I gotta buy the outfit. If I buy the outfit, I gotta do the gas. Because in my friendship circle, they always designated me to be the driver.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, so that money, that's the money. So the money that I would already spend on frivolous stuff, I just shifted it to pay me first, because I knew that I wanted to buy my first rental as soon as I possibly could.
That's awesome. And you bought your first rental in 2004, right?
Yes, in 2004.
You buy your first rental in 2004, and then in 2005, Hurricane Katrina happened, which is a devastating event in New Orleans, Louisiana. What were your thoughts towards business? Because I could only imagine that you had many, many emotions, right? Like you save up all of this money to buy your first property, you're excited, and then this happened.
Well, it's like you don't really know the consequences of a particular experience until you go through it. And at that time, I had no preconceived notions, either negative or positive, of where this could be or where this could head, right? I just remember being in Houston and just saying, hey, I hope my house hadn't flooded, because I wasn't finished with the construction or the rehab on it. I was still doing one side. I'd finished one side, but the other side of the double I hadn't completed yet.
Okay.
But with that being said, again, I didn't have any inclination that this could be a business. I wasn't trying to make it a business. My only goal was to just get a few properties and just shoot up the corporate ladder, right? With Home Depot or whatever company it would have been. I was making a pretty good amount of money to say I was in my 20s. Like at this point, I go from 40, like, and we're bonusing, so it's like 60,000 to 80,000 in a matter of months. So for me, again, I have no responsibilities, I have no kids, I have nothing to spend my money on. So I didn't look at it as a business just yet at that particular point.
Okay. When the city of New Orleans started allowing people to come back into the city, what did you do as far as your property, and did you scale the operation or?
Yes, big time. So at that particular time, when we repopulate the city, I had the mortgage officer or the mortgage lender at the bank, and he was coaching me a lot. He was like encouraging me a lot to buy more property, and then as you get more involved in the community, people reach out to you, right? And they'll say, hey, my family's selling this property, or we got to get rid of this property. We don't have insurance for it. And it just kind of opened up a door for me to just buy whatever. I mean, at that particular point, picking up a piece of property for $30,000 was like walking in a grocery store and picking up a pack of Now and Laters. It was like everywhere. So, with that information from the lender, and he had my back, so it was a situation to where, like, if I brought them a contract, I automatically was going to be approved.
Yeah.
I had all of my banking with them and things of that nature, so if I bring a contract to them, they can see, you know, I had the money and I had the cash in the bank, and so they would be like, all right, cool, you can take down this property and move forward.
I want to expand on that that relationship with the lender. How is there a difference with building a relationship than now with a lender or a bank? Like, what's the difference?
I can't say, that's a really good question. I don't think it's any different, right? I think if you are going to form, and again, this was a community bank. It is a difference between the structure of the bank, right? I'm not sure if you can build a strong relationship with a Bank of America or a Chase, but I am still adamant, and I believe you can build that relationship with a small community bank. Why? Because I've done it. And I'm doing it. I did it then, and we're doing it now with the community banks, right? Someone who understands your market, someone whom you can touch, see, and feel, someone you can explain to your position on this property and why your numbers are this way and that way. When you have your money in their bank, you use that as leverage. And so the same applied in 2004, I do believe still applies today.
Yeah. I agree. I know real estate could be, you know, a shiny object to certain industries. And once you get into real estate, you go through your obstacles and your adversities and things like that. And I know there was a time you took a break from real estate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us that story and what caused that and what influenced your decision to get back into real estate.
So I had a personal situation. I had an ex-boyfriend who was accused of a major crime in the city of New Orleans. He was a police officer. So that personal event was very strained, right? It strained me. It drained me emotionally. It drained me mentally and things of that nature. I was in and out of criminal court with this individual, and I pretty much kind of lost focus of the properties. There were times I even forgot to even check on those properties. And so as we were going through our separation, I met somebody, my husband. I met somebody. So, but when I meet Earl at this particular point, I'm already said I'm done, right? I'm already like not trying to hold on to these properties because they were tied to my ex, which we were business partners on some of them, and some of them we weren't business partners on. But I didn't want to have anything to do with them, right? The communication between my ex and myself was very poor. And, you know, like he pretty much was on his way to prison. So, you know, there wasn't, you know, didn't really want to continue that relationship on. And I was also getting bad advice from an attorney too. And so ended up filing for bankruptcy and allowing some of those to foreclose. You know, my husband today did his best to encourage me to keep them, but at that point I was not trying to hear it, right?
Checked out.
I had already checked out. So I let some of those foreclose. I had to file for bankruptcy to protect my personal house and things of that nature. And so that's what I did, right? Now, I have to say that even when I did that, again, dealing with one of the local lenders, he would call me every now and then. It still took about 4 to 5 years before these houses were foreclosed. And I still, within those 4 or 5 years, had opportunity to keep them. But as far as that, by this time, I'm thinking, hey, I'm a failure. I didn't like real estate anymore. I would often tell Earl, hey, I'm about to go get me a regular job. I'm about to just be regular. And just get my check and go home and have the weekends off and things of that. But that's where I was mentally. Right. And, you know, I went off to do insurance adjusting, because it brought in a lot of cash. It's like 10, 20,000 a month, right? So that was sufficient, because when you think about your cash breakdown for real estate, I wasn't really bringing that much in anyway. So it was like, that was a good deal. But for me, even when I separated myself and I was all the way in Dallas, people would still call me and they would say, hey, do you have a rental? Hey, you know, my mom's looking for this and stuff. So it was like real estate really followed me, and I ended up doing maybe 1 or 2 flips from Dallas. So I did a flip remotely from Dallas with my husband and one of his friends. You know, again, using private money lending to do that. So real estate kept following me, although I was trying to separate myself from it.
That's a crazy story.
It is.
It's definitely a crazy story. But take us back before you bought that property with Earl and his friend. Like, take us back into like the mindset. How did you regain your confidence? Because like foreclosing on properties could tear somebody down. It could tell, you know.
Well, I gotta say, I was always surrounded by people that were positive, right? My bankruptcy attorney taught me on how to buy properties while in bankruptcy. So if that doesn't tell you something, that this is where you belong, I don't know what else would, right? In that particular, again, so I had my bankruptcy attorney. She was coaching me on how to buy properties. It was almost like, go do it again. Go buy it again. You know, I had my husband kept saying, hey, you know, let's do this deal. Let's do that deal. So it was just in this environment to where people kept encouraging me to get it done and to get started. So at some point, yes, the mindset, I got excited again, because I wasn't excited towards the tail end of the first half. So I got excited again. It was a property in Chalmette. The numbers checked out. This was my first time being able to do it. Someone who's a contractor. My husband's a contractor. So that load of trying to get through the transaction, as far as the paperwork, that was great. But now me having to manage it or monitor it, it's like, this is a no-brainer, because he's gonna do all of that. And now I just get to look at the numbers and the return and sit and really sit back and be like, let them do all the work. And whatnot. So I would say just being surrounded, constantly surrounded. My whole entire career, I've been surrounded by people, positive people, and I have to thank God for placing those people in my life.
Definitely. Shout out to Earl.
Yeah.
All right, I want to switch gears a little bit. You know, like today you run a private money lending business.
The best thing ever.
Vertical capital.
Yes.
And that requires a lot of responsibility. So how do you prioritize being a mother, a wife, a business owner? How do you juggle it? Because we managing people retirement accounts, people cash, and they're putting a lot in our hands. Like, how do you juggle this?
Well, truth be told, sometimes I hem my husband up in the kitchen and beat him up. Nah, I'm lying. I have a great support system between my husband and my mom. So if I need my mom to, like if you and I are meeting and I need her to pick them up, she does that. She'll step in and pick them up from school. So I have to thank my mom and my sister. Well, she just recently had a baby, but my sister will jump in there as well, help out. They'll pick up the kids if I need them to get picked up, do their homework with them. Earl, when we're at those real estate events, he steps in and, of course, takes care of the kids naturally. But other than that, I would just have to say it's just a great support system between my mom, my parents, and my husband, and then being able to allow, because you and I spend a lot of time together. Well, we haven't lately, but for a lot of times we spend a lot of time together. So him just allowing me to do that and just kind of work into my space, it just all balance out.
Yeah. So what would you say to the mothers specifically who don't have the support system? Like, what encouragement can you give them, like, who have a big goal, a big vision, who may not have quite the support system that you have? Like, how can you give them some encouragement?
Jeez, that's tough, right? Because, of course, priority is your family, right?
Yeah.
Your priority is family. And I would always say that your family is first. I would never say ditch your family for success.
Right.
I know it's kind of opposite of what a lot of people say, but for me, I think the family unit and you being present to raise those kids is key.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say my advice would be you have to treat it somewhat in this instance. If you don't have that support system, you might have to treat this particular as a part-time thing, right? You're going to have to double down on your hours.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree 100%.
Yeah, to double down on your hours, right? So like if it's 20 hours for part-time and your only space is at night, then you're going to have to make the best use of those hours. Per day throughout the week. If it's 20 hours that you got, then you need to maximize those 20 hours. Because if you're focused, you could be more productive in 20 hours than I am in 40 hours.
Right.
And that's true.
That's true, yeah.
So I would not advise a mother to sacrifice their family. I know what's popular on the internet is you gotta sacrifice your family so you can provide for them in the future. Well, what happens in the present day when they're doing these different things as children? Are you missing out on those? You have the opportunity to influence them to be the best human beings that they possibly can be. And if you're absent from that, then to me, I think that's the biggest failure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, family do come first. So how do you feel being a woman, a black woman, in a male-dominated space? Like, do you see this as an obstacle?
I don't. I know it's unpopular, but I've never saw me being a minority, whether I'm black or female, as an obstacle. I'm a person, and I think you know this already, I'm a person, if I want to seek some information, I'm going to go out and find it. If I got to ask 30 people that question, then I'm going to find it. But I'm really good at learning and putting myself in the right area to get that. You know, I'm not gonna ask someone who's not doing this how to do it, right? So you have to be very good at knowing where to go to get the information. I can't say that because it's a male-dominant space that I've been some sort of way barred. When I was at Home Depot and I didn't know anything about real estate, it was males that taught me about it.
Right.
When I was cashing out, my lender was a male.
Yeah.
My banker was a male.
Yeah.
You know, my first hard money lender was a male.
Right.
My the guy, my closing attorney, James Munger, who used to give me great advice about not keeping cash on the table, and he who owns the gold controls everything, right? That came from a male.
Yeah. Yeah.
And believe it or not, it came from a white male.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't ever say that me being black or me being a female was an obstacle. In fact, I embrace that I am a minority in this space, you know, and that the barriers, I don't know what those are.
Yeah.
I push, like whatever I'm doing, I try not to use that because I believe if you focus on your weaknesses or those social constructs or those social barriers, I think it sets you back.
Yeah, definitely. It is a limiting belief.
Yeah, you have to be an infant.
Yeah.
You have to be a toddler in everything you do.
Yeah.
Toddlers are unrelentless. They don't understand that they're too short.
Yeah.
They don't understand that they're not strong enough.
Yeah.
They don't understand that their mental capacity is not there yet. Toddlers just get out there and do it.
Yeah. I agree 100%. You know, but in closing, this is my last question for you.
Gotcha.
What do you believe is your superpower?
Superpower. That's a good question. I'd have to say is my unwavering belief in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Thank you, my partner, my big sis,
Yeah.
Anitra Preston.
Thank you.